In our headlines on this Thursday, February 27th, here in South Korea. Trade Minister An Deok-gun is in Washington, D.C. to seek Korea's exemption from the 25% U.S. tariff on steel and aluminium imports slated to start in mid-March, and exclusion from reciprocal tariffs set to go into effect in April. And at the UN nuclear disarmament talks in Geneva, South Korea, Japan and the U.S. call for the complete denuclearization of North Korea, reaffirming that the regime will never be recognized as a nuclear weapons state. Meanwhile, the Constitutional Court rules that acting President Choi Sang-mok violated the Constitution by holding back the appointment of the Parliament's Justice nominee Ma Eun-hyuk to its bench. Trade Minister An Deok-gun is in Washington, D.C. for talks with U.S. officials as a number of Trump tariffs are poised to go into effect in the weeks ahead. Our Lee Seung-jae starts us off.
South Korea's Industry Minister An Deok-gun expressed confidence that his upcoming talks with U.S. trade officials will be constructive, adding that the two sides will be able to find win-win alternatives amid Trump administration tariff plans. Speaking to reporters upon arriving at the Dulles International Airport on Wednesday, Minister An said that Seoul and Washington will be able to dispel various misunderstandings, as most of the trade issues have been issued through past FTA renegotiations.
We are in a situation where most of the issues, including non-tariff barriers, have been addressed in past FTA renegotiations. Through specific consultations with the US side, I believe that we can dispel various misunderstandings and craft a constructive alternative.
The industry minister also emphasized that his visit to Washington is aimed at finding the best option to protect South Korean businesses while deepening bilateral partnership with the US on strategic industrial sectors. He also said that he feels a great sense of responsibility as the matter is of great national interest. An cited the handling of the previous Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act, saying that Seoul will be able to find a constructive win-win alternative with the current U.S. administration. The minister will hold talks with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick during his visit, with plans to discuss U.S. tariffs and bilateral cooperation in the shipbuilding industry, cutting-edge industries, energy, and other strategic sectors. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to impose a 25% tariff on imports from the European Union, accusing the bloc of being created to cheat the U.S. Addressing the White House press corps, Trump claimed an announcement would be made very soon, adding that the tariffs will be centered on cars and other goods. The European Commission, for its part, has rejected Trump's accusation, adding that the creation of the regional bloc had in fact facilitated business ventures in Europe for American companies. The Commission also vowed to respond firmly and immediately against unjustified tariffs. The EU currently has in place a 10% tariff on American vehicle imports, which is 4 times higher than the US tariff on European passenger car imports. The U.S. nonetheless already has a 25% tariff on imported pickup trucks. The phrase denuclearization of North Korea will be promoted by South Korea and the U.S. in acknowledgement of the fact that it is not the Korean Peninsula that is illicitly pursuing nuclear weapons, but simply Pyongyang. Our Kim Bo-kyung has more.
Seoul and Washington have agreed to use the term denuclearization of North Korea instead of denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula when addressing the North Korean nuclear issue. South Korean ambassador to the U.S., Cho Hyun-dong, made this announcement during a monthly meeting of South Korean correspondents in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday. As Seoul does not have nuclear weapons, the two expressions largely convey the same purpose of dismantling Pyongyang's nuclear program. However, denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula holds the broader meaning of not only ridding North Korea of its nuclear program, but also the possibility of South Korea going nuclear or hosting U.S. tactical nuclear weapons. To make the meaning clearer, second Trump administration has decided to use the expression the denuclearization of North Korea in a consistent manner. Following the agreement, Seoul's top envoy to the U.S. added that the term was used in documents issued during high-level meetings, including the U.S.-Japan summit and the trilateral foreign ministers meeting between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan. Meanwhile, South Korea, the U.S., and Japan raised voices together at a UN conference on disarmament in Geneva, condemning North Korea's military provocations and calling for its complete denuclearization, while pointing out that Pyongyang is continuing its reckless provocations in blatant violation of relevant UN Security Council resolutions. The three countries said the international community is resolute that Pyongyang will never have the status of a nuclear weapon state. The North Korean representative dismissed the statement, calling it outdated and meaningless. Calling denuclearization an absurd fantasy, he blamed the U.S. and its allies' military actions as main cause of instability on the peninsula, and said that North Korea's status as a full-fledged nuclear state will remain an undeniable reality. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
A senior U.S. official has brushed aside concerns of South Korea being sidelined from potential denuclearization talks with North Korea. U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary for East Asian and Pacific Affairs Kevin Kim also reaffirmed the Trump administration's commitment to issues on the Korean Peninsula. Remarks to this end were shared at the U.S. Embassy here in Seoul earlier on Wednesday, and they come amid the political turmoil here in South Korea. Starting early this month, North Korea has been deploying troops again to the front lines of the battle in Kursk. Now, this is according to the National Intelligence Service earlier on this Thursday. Now, there appears to have been a reinforcement in the deployment, but intelligence authorities here have yet to confirm its size. Sources, for their part, have suggested over 1,000 more soldiers being sent between January and February. Back last October, North Korea sent some 11,000 soldiers to Russia. Meanwhile, a senior official at the Unification Ministry here says the additional troop deployment aligns with the rotation of forces aimed at maintaining combat readiness. The South Korean Navy's new Task Fleet Command has conducted its first major maritime exercise since its launch earlier this month. The exercise included 9 warships, including the 7,600 tons Sejong, the Great Destroyer, 1 submarine and 13 aircraft in and above waters off South Korea's western and southern coasts. The 3-day drills that lasted until this Thursday saw troops engaged in various sessions, including live fire training and anti-submarine warfare. The Sejong, the Great Destroyer, also engaged in ballistic missile detection and tracking drills to strengthen its capabilities against North Korean missile threats. Acting President Choi Sang-mok's decision to hold back the appointment of Justice nominee Ma Eun-hyuk stands in breach of the Parliament's authority to recommend Constitutional Court justices. Now, that is the verdict reached by the court in response to a parliamentary lawsuit against Acting President Choi Sang-mok. Our Oh Soo-young covers its ruling and its broader implications.
The Constitutional Court has ruled that Acting President Choi Sang-mok's decision to withhold the appointment of Justice nominee Ma Eun-hyuk was unconstitutional, violating the National Assembly's authority to select Constitutional Court justices. On Thursday, the court announced its verdict that Choi does not have the discretion to review or reject justices elected by the National Assembly, reaffirming that the legislative selection power is independent and substantive. Choi had appointed 2 out of 3 justices put forward by the Assembly in December last year, but deferred Ma Eun-hyuk's appointment, calling for bipartisan agreement first. At the same time, the court dismissed the request from the National Assembly Speaker to confirm Ma's status as a justice or order his immediate appointment, citing legal limitations. Following the ruling, Choi is now under significant pressure to appoint Ma Eun-hyuk, a left-leaning judge recommended by the opposition Democratic Party. His appointment is politically sensitive, as he would be the 5th progressive justice on a 9-member bench. Chair's office said the acting president would respect the court's decision and would look carefully into the verdict, but couldn't comment on if or when Ma would be appointed. If Ma is soon instated, various complications could arise in President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment trial, as the court would then decide whether or not he will participate in the deliberation process. Given that Yoon's trial hearings concluded this week, the court could exclude Ma. Even if Ma is included, experts say he might choose to recuse himself to avoid controversy and maintain the current 8-member bench. But if he participates, the court would have to decide whether Ma should conduct a brief review of trial materials or hold a retrial process, which involves a more comprehensive examination with more hearings. The latter could significantly delay the ruling, which is currently expected in mid-March. President Yoon's legal team on Thursday strongly condemned the court's decision, calling it politically motivated and aimed at securing a 6-vote majority to uphold Yoon's impeachment. Yoon's team raised concerns over Ma Eun-hyuk's past affiliation with progressive legal groups, which they said undermines judicial neutrality. They claim that acting President Chair is not legally bound to appoint Ma and should conduct a thorough administrative review before making a final decision. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, at the National Assembly, lawmakers across the aisle locked horns over a bill paving the path for a special probe into allegations of election interference by President Yoon Suk-yeol and First Lady Kim Gun-hee through a political broker called Myung Tae-gyun. I have our correspondent Shin Ha-young standing by live on the line with details. Ha-young, welcome. Now, I hear the bill was passed by the Parliament today, Ha-young.
You're right, Sunny. Just a few hours ago, the main opposition Democratic Party, with support from minor parties, unilaterally passed a special counsel bill to investigate President Yoon and First Lady Kim for their alleged election interference through Myung Tae-gyun. And it passed with 182 votes in favor, 91 against, and 1 abstention. And Myung is accused of conducting public opinion polls favorable to Yoon ahead of the last presidential race and soliciting his support in the People Power Party's nomination process during the 2022 parliamentary by-elections. And last year, a phone call between Yoon and Myung surfaced where they discussed the candidacy of a then upcoming by-election, something that is illegal. And ahead of the plenary session today, DP Floor Leader Park Chan-dae said the special counsel bill was key to uncovering the truth behind the December 3rd declaration of martial law and stressing the need to restore the country and democracy. Take a listen.
There is already overwhelming evidence of serious crimes involving Yoon Suk-yeol, Kim Gun-hee, and Myung Tae-gyun. The probe is about fixing the country, not political fighting.
Ahead of the vote, the ruling PPP reached a party consensus to oppose the bill and decided to request acting President Choi Sang-mok to veto it if the opposition pushes it through. And its floor leader Kwon Sung-dong called the appointment of a special counsel a political move for an early election. Take a listen.
The special counsel bill is a political scheme by Myung Tae-gyun and the Democratic Party. The DP claims the case was a trigger for a martial law declaration, but it's just a baseless delusion.
The PPP also criticized the bill for targeting the party's entire procedure for elections and for suggesting it could investigate all ruling party members at any time.
Right, I see. And Ha-young, before you go, do tell us about the postponement of the vote on the revision of the Commercial Act.
Well, Sunny, Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik decided to hold off on the Commercial Act amendment at today's plenary session, citing the need for more talks due to the sharp divide between the parties. Let's listen.
As the Speaker, I've decided not to put down the revision of the Commercial Act at today's plenary session to encourage more talks between the parties. I urge the parties to keep discussing it until the next session.
The amendment expands the company director's duty to act in good faith, requiring them to serve both the company and its shareholders' interests. And the PPP has criticized the amendment, claiming it will lead to endless lawsuits and disrupt businesses, even though the revision is meant to protect shareholders. And the DP, which has been pushing the amendment, expressed regret over the delay. And Speaker Woo said the voting deadline would be determined as the negotiations progress. And that's all I have for this hour. Back to you, Sunny.
All right, Hayoung, thank you for that coverage. That was our political correspondent Shin Hayoung with the latest at the Parliament. Moving forward then, Korea's southern port city of Busan is hosting an annual drone show that marks its 10th birthday this year, with much emphasis on drones for defense. Our business correspondent Moon Hae-ryun was there.
When you think of a drone, what image comes to mind? For many, it's a small full-propeller device hovering in the air. But what truly defines a drone is not its shape or size. It's the fact that it operates without a pilot on board. This makes drones invaluable across various sectors, a point underscored at Drone Show Korea 2025, Asia's largest drone exhibition. Marking its 10th anniversary this year, the event placed a strong emphasis on the growing role of drones in defense and security, as these unmanned systems become increasingly central to modern warfare. The wars in Ukraine and Gaza have underscored the growing importance of drones in modern warfare, and South Korea is also ramping up its use of drone technology within its military. The Republic of Korea Army showcased surveillance drones designed for reconnaissance missions, while the Republic of Korea Navy unveiled unmanned underwater vehicles capable of navigating restricted and high-risk areas. The Air Force showed its vision for unmanned systems integrated with artificial intelligence, where drones can reduce casualties and address manpower shortages with the country's declining birth rate.
This manned and unmanned combat aircraft system enhances pilot survivability, maximizes operational efficiency, and enables a single aircraft to carry out the missions of 6 or 7 units. As a result, it is considered a game-changer in future warfare. Recognizing its strategic importance, South Korea is investing significant effort and resources into its development.
South Korean drones are also gaining popularity around the world, such as in Southeast Asia, as they search for alternatives to cheap Chinese drones, with security issues becoming more prominent. This company not only develops surveillance and attack drones for the Korean Army, but also exports smaller drones to the Philippines, where they're used to make the streets safer. Delivery drones that are capable of lifting heavy equipment to high altitudes are also popular overseas, with this company supplying them to film sets in Hollywood and to the Jordanian armed forces.
The face of future warfare is beginning to change as drones become increasingly more autonomous and able to carry out a variety of functions. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
And Samsung Electronics and LG Electronics dominated this year's iF Design Award, one of the most prestigious awards in the global design industry. Organized by Germany's International Forum Design since 1953, the award evaluates 9 categories, including product design, packaging, and user experience. Samsung won 58 awards, including 2 gold awards for an AI home robot and a reusable packaging cloth. Polly, the robot, helps with scheduling and controlling household appliances, among other tasks, while Pojage is a reusable packaging cloth inspired by traditional Korean wrapping, allowing products of different shapes to be wrapped easily. LG won 36 awards, including the Gold Award for the world's first wireless transparent screen television, the LG Signature OLED T. In other news, a piece of royal heritage has finally returned home in about 100 years. Our uni covers its journey back and its importance.
The centuries-old piece of royal heritage has finally made its way back home. This is believed to have been the nameplate of Seonwonjeon Hall within the grounds of Gyeongbokgung Palace, one of the 4 main royal palaces of the Joseon dynasty. Seonwon means the origin of jade. The hall was considered the most sacred hall within the palace, home to the portraits of past kings and royal rituals. This month, the Korea Heritage Service successfully repatriated the nameplate from Japan. It is unclear how the plaque ended up there, but it's believed to have been taken by the first Japanese Governor-General of Korea in the early 1900s, during the Japanese colonial period.
The plaque features gold letters on a black lacquered background, with intricately carved cloud patterns on the frame, featuring its prestigious significance and exceptional artistic quality.
The nameplate was first publicly discovered in 2023 when it appeared at a Japanese antique auction. The Korea Heritage Service and the Overseas Cultural Heritage Foundation were quick to take action. The return of this priceless cultural heritage was made possible through negotiations and sponsorship from gaming giant Riot Games.
For the past 12 years, Riot Games has supported the protection and return of Korean cultural heritage. As a company shaping modern culture, we believe preserving Korea's heritage holds great significance for everyone, including our players and Riot Games.
The Gyeongbokgung Palace's Seonwonjeon nameplate will be studied and managed at the National Palace Museum of Korea in Seoul, with plans for in-depth research and future exhibitions to further honor its historical significance. Lee Eun-hee, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories around the globe. The Palestinian militant group Hamas has handed over the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages to the Red Cross early on Thursday, just days before the first phase of the truce comes to an end. In return, Israel has also begun to release Palestinian prisoners from Ofar prison in the occupied West Bank. Israel has agreed to release 602 Palestinian prisoners, a move that was initially planned for last weekend but later postponed. Under the truce agreement that began on February 19th, Hamas released 6 hostages on this past Saturday. However, Israel delayed the prisoner release due to what it described as the mistreatment and humiliation of the freed hostages during the handover process. Through mediators, both sides have now agreed to proceed with the remaining prisoner and hostage exchanges. According to the office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the upcoming transfer will take place without any special ceremonies. At least 18 people have been killed and 23 others injured after a double-decker tour bus overturned in eastern Thailand. The crash occurred early Wednesday local time after the bus lost control due to a brake failure and plunged down a slope. A total of 49 adults were on board traveling as part of an educational tour. Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra extended her sympathies to the victims' families and stated that an investigation was underway. Thailand's Ministry of Transport has also announced that it will work with police to investigate the incident and strengthen inspections to guarantee that all public transportation vehicles meet safety standards. Turning to the United States, amid a growing measles outbreak, Texas has reported its first child fatality from the disease. This marks the first measles-related death in the U.S. in nearly a decade, with the last case occurring in Washington state in 2015. According to the Texas Department of Health on Tuesday, the number of reported measles cases in West Texas has risen to 124, an increase of more than 30 cases since late last week. The highest infection rates have been observed among children aged 5 to 17. So far, a total of 18 people have been hospitalized due to the outbreak, and all of them were unvaccinated. Actress Michelle Trachtenberg, best known for her roles in Gossip Girl and other hit TV dramas, has died at the age of 39. She was found dead in her New York apartment on Wednesday morning local time. The exact cause of death remains under investigation. According to police, no signs of foul play were detected, but Trachtenberg had recently undergone a liver transplant and may have suffered complications. Born in New York in 1985, Trachtenberg began her career as a child actress and later gained widespread recognition for her roles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Gossip Girl. Yoon Se-young, Arirang News.
It was still cold this morning, but the temperature rose significantly in the middle of the day, widening the daily temperature differences to around 14 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow, the temperature differences will be nearly 10 degrees, with 3 degrees in the morning and 12 degrees during the day in Seoul. The air quality is not expected to be good tomorrow. It's because dust accumulates as the atmosphere is somewhat stagnant as the temperature rises. In addition, there is a possibility of additional smoke from tomorrow afternoon. This bad air quality will be relieved as rain clouds come around the day after tomorrow. Tomorrow, most areas will start off above 0 degrees, with Daejeon and Gyeongju at 2 degrees Celsius. Daily highs will rise up to 14 degrees in Daejeon and Gwangju and 17 degrees in Daegu. Heavy rain for spring is expected during the 3일절 holiday, and there's a possibility of heavy snow in the eastern parts of Gangwon-do province. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Right, those are the top stories at this hour here in South Korea. Thank you for watching, and do stay tuned for our panel discussion.